So the next thing I want to talk about is knowing your seed and what your plant requires to get started. So not all plants are going to be as easy as the zucchini or summer squash. You plant the seeds in the early summer and voila, you are growing more squash than you could ever imagine. It's just that easy. This honestly, if you want to feel good about your gardening skills and you want to enjoy some delicious stir fries during the summer, highly recommend starting with some summer squash because it is pretty much fail-proof. However, say you love radishes and you're wanting to harvest radishes all year round, you're going to need to start looking at what the plant requires. So for example, if you're looking here at the radishes, they only remain in prime condition for a few days and should be grown with moisture to be mild, tender, and attractive. So this is what this is telling you right here is you need to be very careful not to let these things sit in the ground for too long. They've got a time limit and they need to be harvested right away. Another thing that you need to be aware of is what the plant requires. So for example, we've got some lettuce here, and lettuce, it has got a unique property where it is sensitive to both light and heat. So if there's not light and it gets too hot, the seeds won't germinate. So you need to still these ones closer to the surface so that we can get it light that it needs. But you also need to be aware of when you plant it. If you plant it when the days are 90 degrees outside in the summer sun, you might get a few to grow on you. However, you're not going to get what you had expected. So maybe in that situation with the lettuce, you're going to want to start maybe indoors where it's a little bit more temperate and you can control those conditions a little bit more. But it's good to know that lettuce has this issue with it being too hot and growing. Another thing, for example, let's say carrots. So carrots, when they are germinating, it can take up to 3 weeks to germinate. So knowing that, then that gives you a good idea that you're going to need to watch those carrots and have patience. So if you don't see them coming up right away, you know that you need to keep watering that spot, keep watching, keep waiting, because eventually it will come through and come up. One other thing that I want you to be aware of is planting time frames. So for example, say this year, your goal is to grow some delicious broccoli. You want it so bad. It's going to be so yummy. However, if you were to come here and learn more about broccoli, you're going to learn that this broccoli does not do well in hot weather. It's better as a spring and fall crop, which would mean if you're planting this out in May, you're too late. You need to be getting this into the ground April, so that way it's got some time to grow before those temperatures really heat up. So you want to make sure that you're planting the plants in the right time frame. I know, for example, in the spring, when you have days like today where it's nice, sunny, and warm, you might get tempted to put some tomatoes out. If you go to, you know, Walmart or the hardware store, they're all starting to get these plants set out and ready, and it might be tempting. You know, I went to IFA today and they had tons of tomato plants and they were beautiful and gorgeous and really made you want to go plant them in the garden. However, these guys don't like it to be cold. They're going to freeze pretty quickly, and you want to just always transplant these babies. So see, temperatures over 45 degrees, frost will cause severe damage. So when you know your seed and know the requirements, it's very helpful to be able to get a good crop. One last thing I want to talk about is something that I've come across as well. Some seeds need stratification periods, and basically what that means is stratification is conditioning for the seed as if it was in nature, so that way it'll bloom like you need it to. I tried to grow some pincushion flowers, for example, last year, and I didn't do any stratification on it, meaning I just planted them out in the garden without anything beforehand, and I got a couple to germinate, but not very many. The problem with the pincushion flower is that it requires a cold period. So let me get a picture of this here so you can see it. This is the one I'm growing this year, this beautiful moonflower. So to be able to grow it this year, I put this in the fridge for a month. So that way it would have enough time to get the chilling periods that it needs and germinate more quickly. So you want to be aware of that. Some require cold periods, some require to be nicked or to be soaked in water. For example, beans are one of those things, or cilantro, that if you soak them in water a couple hours before actually putting them in the soil, you'll be much better off. So that's just some things to be aware of, and you'll always want to do the research and look for what that seed needs. Seed catalogs will have a lot of great information. You can go directly to the website, and then the back of the package also has some good information as well to be able to let you know exactly what those plants need to get a jump start on them in the garden. So thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoy the rest of the information here on seed starting.